Yo, peace and blessings, family. Let me share a thought with you real quick. I was working, right? I was doing what I do. And I seen this young man in the store. And I couldn't help but notice, right? The way that he came out to the store. And without getting into some of the specifics, because I don't want what I say to pull your attention or your thinking or your mind into a different direction, other than a point that I want to make about this, I'll just say this. I know that, well, it's a given, right? It's understood, especially in most black homes specifically, right, that the mother has the greatest influence in the house. Even if the father's there and the kids there are his blood children, because of the way society is designed, the system that we operate under, whether we want to admit this or aware of this or not, it has a great influence on the way that we see, feel, think about things, and the decisions that we make. So, regardless if he's the father of the kids in the house or not, the mother has the strongest influence. And then there's the dynamic or the percentage of homes where there is no father there, or there's a stepfather there. And sometimes a stepfather is still almost like there's no father there, because the stepfather's influence on the children still can be challenged and still be very difficult, especially when the children have already reached a certain age of puberty and adolescence. Their character starts forming already. Their way of thinking already starts forming by that time. And it's very difficult to reverse that. From a stepfather standpoint, and I've been a stepfather, so and this quote unquote stepfather, we don't really use that in Islam, but just so you understand what I'm saying. So anyway, understanding, man, that the mother has the greatest influence, right? I say this here, that when the mother and the father separate, my thinking, my perspective is that the son, specifically the sons need to go stay with the father. Period, man. I know a lot of times if this father ain't got his stuff together, X, Y, and Z, the mothers don't be wanting to let them go stay with him. And the father, if he can get away with not taking on that responsibility, he's definitely going to avoid it. But there was a time when some of you mothers didn't have a stable foundation. You was living here and there, moving around, barely can make it. And no one, you wouldn't have accepted your children being removed from you. Some of you, you'll let your kids go stay with a family member or whatnot until you get it together. But some of us, because I grew up under the dynamic where you right there in the streets with your mom, unstable and all. So again, my position is that send them boys with the father, man. Because them kids, if he love them and he value them, and it's my belief, it's my understanding too, that most fathers love their children. But just like these mothers who wasn't prepared to have a child, just like these mothers who was fostered in homes where they didn't even get real good, healthy representation of what a parent is. Just like these mothers, these fathers can be matured over time by that responsibility. But for you mothers who still choose to keep the children, or again, under the dynamic where the father is even there, I want you to understand this real one point right here of why I said everything that I just said. A boy doesn't turn into a man just because he gets older. I'm saying a boy mindset doesn't get responsible just because he turns 19, 20, 21, or even have a kid. He don't just get responsible like that. He can A child can force him to start doing what he needs to do, but as long as he has a way to put that responsibility off or circumvent that responsibility because he's already irresponsible, then he's going to put that responsibility off at every given opportunity that he gets. So he's going to give the baby to his mother, give the baby to whoever's willing to keep the baby as much as possible. And when he's around the baby, he's kind of like just a babysitter. Because he doesn't have a real, true responsibility to the child. I'm saying it's not, the mother has a different type of mindset when it comes to her. Her mind is, I have to do certain things. Otherwise, my kid's not going to have this, that, and other. But the father don't always think like that. So until he begins to start thinking like that, even that child isn't going to make him responsible. Age doesn't make a male responsible. You have to start making this boy into the man that even you mama, into the kind of man that you would marry or that you admire or that you respect. You have to start making him responsible. You can't treat him like a baby. You can't treat him like a child and just give him everything and save him from everything and spare his feelings on everything. No, you don't want to destroy his mindset and his feelings and his male ego, no. But you have to make him responsible. When I say make responsible, you have to make him disciplined. You know, I realized for myself, because I grew up in a very unstructured environment. And not one environment, it's just my world as a young person was very unstructured. So as I got older, I didn't really start gaining discipline until I started getting incarcerated. And it was only after the last time, where I did over 14 years, that I gained my greatest amount of discipline. But gaining discipline in a controlled environment still isn't enough. It still isn't the same. Because once you get released from that controlled environment where your whole day is planned out and you only can do certain amount of things within these different slots of the day, it's easy to structure your world. But when you get out here and you can do whatever you want to all different parts of the day or not do nothing, then again, when one hasn't become just, when discipline hasn't become a part of who a person is, when it just hasn't become that, man, that person's life is going to be difficult. More difficult than it has to be. It's going to be difficult, period, but it's going to be more difficult than it has to be. Discipline separates us all. The level and the amount of discipline separates us all. The more disciplined we are with our life, with our freedom, right, with our wealth or the lack of, the more disciplined we are with our time, the more successful we're going to be in life. The more disciplined we are is the more structured we are. The more structured we are, the more productive we can be. I don't care what idea you may have in your mind, what goal you may have set. If you don't have the discipline to push it out, to stay consistent, to carry it out, you're going to start, stop, and you're going to do this for years, man. Everything that's anything is going to pull your attention. It's going to become a part of your distraction. Discipline, man. It cannot, the principle and the value of discipline, self-discipline, cannot be overemphasized and it cannot be overrated. No matter if you're an artist, if you're a naturalist, if you're a singer, whatever it is you are, if you become successful in it, it took you to be consistent in the area. Wherever you are consistent at, you're going to be successful in producing and manifesting from that what you are consistent in. If you're consistent as a criminal, always stealing X, Y, and Z, you're going to get everything that comes with that. You're going to be successful in going to jail, and you're going to be successful sometimes actually getting out of it what you want. You're going to be successful in all the aspects of that. But if you're consistent and always telling the truth, or always doing whatever it is, always working out, always eating right, always preparing, always going to sleep at a certain time, you're going to reap the benefit of that. But it takes discipline to be consistent. Anything we're not consistent in, we're not going to be disciplined in. And this is what we have to entrench, we have to incorporate, we have to solidify in the foundation of our homes, man. I wish I had the type of discipline that I know I need and I strive towards. It's hard, man. The longer you go without real self-discipline, the harder it gets to get it. The harder it gets to really make it a part of who you are. Self-discipline, man. If you're not consistent in the area, you're not disciplined in the area. So if you want to try to figure out how disciplined you are in the area, look at how consistent you are. If you have, say, I want this out of life, I ain't got this, and why I ain't done this, and I've been asking for this, and I've done, look at truly how consistent you are in that area. Doing something one time a day, doing something one time a week, sometimes that's not enough to produce what you want. It takes a certain amount of consistency. Let's say for a rocket to shoot out into the atmosphere, out into the stratosphere, and maybe even out of space. It takes consistency from the power of its jet fuel, or from the fire, whatever the technical name for it. But it takes a certain amount of consistency to keep that thing going up and moving in the direction that it's designed to go or desired to go. But at any given point where, let's say that power keeps shutting off and it just keep, what I'm saying? It's not going to maintain. It's not going to maintain to go against the pull of gravity. And anytime we striving upward in some field, there's a gravity pull, man. And that's why as soon as you stop, it's like taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps backwards. It's like you're constantly starting over, man. I don't know who need to hear this, who this is for, and who this even resonates with. But this is the thought that I was just impregnated with. And I stopped doing what I need to do what I needed to do. Because me trafficking truth, that's what I'm going to do. If nothing else going on in the world, that's what I'm going to do. I'm consistent in some areas, but not consistent enough. That's why I haven't manifested in some areas that what I really long for. I know this, and I'm striving, but it's difficult. So the younger you are, when you start really applying discipline to your life, I promise you, man, you can have anything you desire, anything you want. You can have the kind of lifestyle you want. You can have anything you want as long as you're consistent and disciplined in whatever area that is necessary for you to get that. Understand it. Last thing I'm going to say. If you don't have the information to do what's necessary to produce a thing, you're not going to produce it. Or you may produce it by luck, by chance. But you're not going to be able to repeat it if you don't know how you produced it. So it takes information. And as long as you're disciplined enough to go after the information and then apply the information with consistency, I know without a doubt in my mind, because it is mathematics. And mathematics is the only truth, and it never lies. It's consistent, man. You would be able to get anything that you desire, anything that you want, anything that you need. Peace and blessing.